Heroin, cocaine, marijuana, nicotine, caffeine come from plants. Estrogen, progesterone, testosterone comes from plants. And then lectins, oxalates, phytates are all antigenic molecules that come from plants that cause a tremendous amount of allergies in our body. An allergy, again, could colitis, Crohn's, IBS simply be allergic reactions in our gut? Yes. And we know that poison ivy that gets on your skin causes redness, pain, swelling, heat. And so all this stuff is like poison ivy disease. But there's no such thing as poison ivy disease. It's exposure to a foreign antigen that causes damage and disease.
You guys are in for a treat today. I have with me Dr. Kiltz. He is a board-certified OBGYN and reproductive endocrinologist. He's become widely known for his advocacy of a low-carbohydrate, animal-based, often carnivore approach to metabolic and reproductive health. And he's also the founder and medical director of CNY Fertility, which is one of the most accessible and innovative fertility clinics in the country, helping tens of thousands of families and patients achieve their pregnancies every year. Now, I am so excited to have you here. I followed you for a while on Instagram. The whole nutrition conversation has been personal to me for the last year and a half or more, and truly for a very long time. But I feel like there's a lot of information coming out about what we're going to talk about today, which carnivore, keto, all of this kind of stuff. And I really love it because of how it relates to fertility and pregnancy. And I mean, even now in the United States, we've got our new food pyramid. Like, I want to dive into all of this today. So with that, can you kind of tell us a little bit about you? I'd love to hear your background on how you got started with what you do and what you do today.
Stephanie, thank you for having me here today. It's really a pleasure to listen and learn from you and to share these ideas that I've been learning over the last 70 years. I'll be 70 March 12th coming up. My elevator speech is I was born in LA, kicked out of school in a gang, couldn't read, father in jail. And I was centered because of Mrs. Wong, who taught me ceramics in the 10th grade. I used to work at Dodger Stadium. As you could tell, I'm an LA Dodger fan. And I used to work at the Broadway department store, Hollywood and Vine. I learned service and client care. I wound up going into medicine after breaking a leg at 19 and meeting a hippie doctor. And I thought, wow, that's like kind of cool. I wonder what it'd be like to do that. And I went to the counselor's office and I read what it took. And I was like, gosh, shit, I'm in trouble. But I managed because of persistence and drive. My sister had diabetes since age 4. I saw her suffering. It died at 52. Inspired me in so many ways to get out there and work to help and learn the standard science, medicine. But after a while, I learned that actually what I was taught in standard medicine, nutrition, science might be wrong. I learned a little bit about meditation, prayer, and positivity in my early 40s. And then some of my patients were getting pregnant on a paleo diet. And I was like, what is that? I personally had arthritis, psoriasis, migraines, kidney stones, bowel bleeding, bladder bleeding, depression, anxiety, and more. When I went paleo, I got better and I shared it. And my patients were getting pregnant a little bit more commonly than without it. And then I found keto. And then about 15 years ago, I found carnivore. I've never looked back. I practice a carnivore lifestyle primarily. I practice one meal a day, fasting. I do 2 to 3 days a month, 5 to 7 quarterly. And I believe in the spirit over science and faith over facts. And that's my daily practice. I've grown CNY Fertility Center as the most affordable, integrating Eastern and Western medicine, integrating nutrition and lifestyle. And I've seen so much benefit in reducing inflammation. The standard pyramid food plan that government has taught us to do, and science and nutrition has. But I believe that the meat-centric, fatty meat-centric diet is a healer more so than anything I've ever learned in life. And so as a continuing to thrive and survive, loving practicing medicine. I still love standard medicine, but I want to make sure that we give the non-standard, the stuff that we doctors say, no, it doesn't work, including acupuncture, massage, meditation, and prayer, as a foundation of health and wellness for all of us.
I love that. It's a pretty solid elevator speech. Yeah. And
Yeah.
what a neat life you've lived, and what a story to have. It's interesting as I'm listening to you talk about all this, and I just think of, if you are not mainstream, you're considered quackery a lot of the time. It doesn't exist, or those things aren't real. And yet people see big changes using these quackery things quite a bit. So for you to be able to meld the two like you're talking about, I think is a big deal.
Well, and I was born and raised Catholic. I became an atheist, a scientist, and then he punished me. He challenged me. He stressed me. And then he said, okay, it's time. You've been in the training grounds. Get out there and share it. I wear this strongly and powerfully, whether it's Jesus, Moses, Muhammad, Abraham, David, Buddha, Lao Tse, it doesn't matter. See God in every one and practice that first. Be kind and generous and loving to your brothers and sisters around the globe. That is so important for all of us to do. And through a new ancient Paleolithic lifestyle, we're lions. And it's really powerful. The simplicity, I call it Occam's razor. Simple answer is the one. We made all of this so complicated, but might it be simple? And that's the part that I love sharing. And I love talking with people like yourself, where we're sharing some wisdom that our standard medicine is not sharing yet. But the more we talk about it, the more they will.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's interesting. I know maybe I shared this with you when I reached out to see if you would come on the podcast, but I think it was about a year and a half ago, 2 years now, where I jumped into a program, and what she had us doing was eating meat. And lots of it, 120 to 200 grams of protein a day, fasting, like you're talking about, walking, moving our bodies. And I came because not only did I have some extra weight, but I was also having some issues as I'm getting older, and I just hit 40. I've got teenage kids now, and my body's not what it used to be. And all of a sudden, some of these things started going away. And along with it went the weight and went up my energy. And so I was like, okay, hold on. What is this all about? And so that's what sparked my interest with all the health. And since then, I've been reaching out to health people because I'm like, I know that there's a connection. And when we're talking about infertility, I would love to hear from you what you have seen as far as the rise of infertility and kind of your thoughts behind the why, and then what you're seeing in your practice and with what you do with food.
Well, diseases around the globe are on the rise in younger and younger people. Infertility is just another disease, which, in my opinion, is an inflammatory, immunologic, dysfunctional disorder for all of us. Arthritis, psoriasis, migraines, kidney stones, bowel bleeding, heart disease, cancer, stroke, depression, anxiety, suicidality are on the rise. Polycystic ovarian syndrome, menstrual irregularity, early periods, no periods, painful periods, sexual dysfunction are all on the rise. Uterine fibroids, adenomyosis, thyroid disease. It's on the rise. And the answer is generally idiopathic, which means we don't know what the cause is, unexplained. And I said, well, maybe there is something out there that we're just not looking at it because we don't know the cause, but certainly it can't be the plants because they're good for us, right? And if you realize this, the plants are live organisms that don't want to be eaten. They contain foreign sugars that are highly antigenic. That means they cause allergic reactions. What if every disease we have is simply an allergy? Redness, swelling, pain, heat, dysfunction, damage and death to the cell, to the organ system, and to the organism. We see people that drop dead and nobody knows why they drop dead. We don't know why. And so as I dig deeper into this, and my daughter's allergic to avocados and bananas, people are allergic to seeds and nuts all day long. What if our highly plant-based, processed plant-based, even raw plant-based is the cause of disease, along with a low animal fat diet? And I'm like, So we don't eat fat. we eat lean meat, fillets of chicken, turkey, fish, beef. There's no fat in there. But 99, all other animals eat raw food. They don't cook it, and they don't shy away from eating fat. So when we went to a low-fat diet, whether it's plant-based or animal-based, that's when the diseases started going on the rise. Obesity rose also at the same time. So it must be something about the lean meat and the plants which are the problem. And so when I personally was learning about paleo, then keto, and then carnivore, and I did it myself, and then I'm pretty good at eating steak, eggs, bacon, eggs, butter, beef, salt, ice cream. I love ice cream. And I will tell you that simple sugar consumed small amounts from time to time is not the cause of disease. The cause of disease is overcooked meat, which renders away the fat, and lean meat, and plants, which contain no animal fat, but they contain a lot of chemicals. Heroin, cocaine, marijuana, nicotine, caffeine come from plants. Estrogen, progesterone, testosterone comes from plants. And then lectins, oxalates, phytates are all antigenic molecules that come from plants that cause a tremendous amount of allergies in our body. An allergy, again, could colitis, Crohn's, IBS simply be allergic reactions in our gut? Yes. And we know that poison ivy that gets on your skin causes redness, pain, swelling, heat. And so all this stuff is like poison ivy disease. But there's no such thing as poison ivy disease. It's exposure to a foreign antigen that causes damage and disease. And one other thing about plants, they feed the microbes in the gut. Well, those microbes, the microbiome is really important for you. But what if the microbes are the killers? And James Henry Salisbury State guy, who graduated Albany Medical School in 1850s, figured this out, that the microbes for the men in the army were flourishing and causing pneumonia and diarrhea and dysentery and death. When he switched them from a plant-based slop diet to a meat-based diet, they got better. And the microbes were reduced. And so 3 to 6 plant-based, low-fat meat diet a day is feeding the microbes, plus they're adding the chemicals that the plants make, which are ultimately our biggest cause of disease. And when I went to animal-based, one meal a day, I've never felt better. And it's amazing. When you eat fat, butter or lard or tallow, it suppresses the microbes in the gut, so they're not flourishing as much, and they're less pathologic. I don't know if you've ever noticed butter doesn't mold. And so when you eat fat, it's anti-inflammatory, but nobody eats fat. Even most carnivores, they overcook their meat, they cut the fat away, they're eating lean meat. Then no animal eats lean meat. They eat the animal. And they eat the bones and the skin and the head. They eat everything. We're just like, I can never eat that. Oh, you gotta put it on a special plate with a little lettuce, and you gotta garnish it and make it look pretty, right? It's just like, I want my meat. I eat my meat rare to raw. It kind of looks like that. I don't know if you could see the ribeye steak that I love to eat.
Yeah.
And again, it's counter to everything you and I have been taught by the food pyramid, which basically the government ain't fixing us. We're doing this through social media. I was just kicked off YouTube for a week for something stupid. I have no idea what it was, but we have a platform, and that's why we do the meetups, and we go around the world and we talk to people and we share these. I write books and love to be on people like yourselves' show, where we can really talk about this. And I'm just a regular guy. We're human beings. We're not different. We're 99% the same. We're all getting the same diseases out there. You and I are not unique and different, although you're a woman and I'm a man. And ultimately, the carnivore diet, faith and fasting are the best things for all humans. And I recommend that if you're not getting pregnant, or you're having pelvic pain or mental pain or suffering in some way, carnivore is the crazy cure of life.
Okay, tell me a little bit about then when people come to you, say that they start this diet, and you've got your whole, is it BEBBIS? Do I have that right?
Yes, the baby's diet. Bacon, eggs,
Yeah,
butter, beef,
BB's diet.
ice cream, salt. I mean, because I make babies. It's pronounced
Yeah,
babies, even
I
though
love it.
EBBIS, and the I is Kiltz's ice cream, which is cream, eggs, vanilla, and you can throw in a small amount of cane sugar. That's not the problem. But if you want to use some allulose or something else, that's okay too, or nothing.
Yeah. Okay, so for people that come to you and say that they start eating like this, how long does it take for them to see a difference in anything that you just mentioned?
So if you had a 6-pack of beer, how long would it take for that beer to wear off and your body to feel back to normal again? I don't know what that is. Hours, days, weeks. Now, think about it. If what's sitting inside your bowels is being absorbed into the gut, into the bloodstream, and you eat something today, but it takes a few days to go all the way through the gut into the colon and out through the bowels, and so as long as there's fermentation in the gut or the plants are in your gut, you might get some poisoning. But let's just say it may take 3 to 5 to 7 days of carnivore, which eliminates the plant toxins for you to feel better. But I would say 2 to 4 weeks, and you're looking around and like, anyone else just seeing the world in like Technicolor today? I'm a Technicolor guy. I love life. I love connecting with people, and I see the optimism of life in the beauty that God has given us every single day. And so again, it's a radical concept, but babies are our foundation of life. Families and creating a family is like the foundation. If it's not happening naturally, something's wrong. People say, "Oh, I'm healthy, I'm fine." Well, you're coming to me, you're not getting pregnant naturally. So you're not fine. It's got to be some inflammatory process that, again, you could do a keto diet, but the carnivore diet is like the ultimate game changers. What I recommend people like, okay, try some keto, which is high fat, throw in some fasting, 1 meal a day, and see what happens. If it hasn't worked in a month, 2 or 3, look at carnivore and give it a shot. What do you have to lose other than getting pregnant, having a baby without a doctor? Having it with
Right.
sex with your husband or your partner, right?
Right. For people that are thinking or they're curious listening to this and they're thinking, okay, maybe I want to give this a try. What would that look like for them? How much would they need to eat? What would a day look like for them?
Well, everyone is thinking, oh, you must not be eating enough. You got to eat more, which it doesn't make any sense to me. I always say fatty meat, bacon, eggs, butter, beef, Kiltz's ice cream, salt. And again, you don't need the ice cream. A lot of people can't tolerate the milk products because milk is really for babies, not for adults. And you might, go right there. I just eat till I'm full and then go from there. I tend to eat 1 meal a day at night. People say, oh, breakfast is the best meal of the day. Listen, when you got up in the morning in the savannah, there's no cupboard or refrigerator to get your food. You had to go hunt and gather it. And so usually that's an all-day affair, if not more days. But I think the best meal is the evening meal. And what do you do after you're full? God, I'm so tired. I wonder what's going on. Let me get some coffee. No, go to bed, take a nap. But I think, again, if you got to focus on the fat, not the lean meat. And so, it's going to be playing it, whether it's ground beef or strip steak or rump steak or prime rib. You got to find the thing that fits you. Now, some people do chicken, fish, turkey, but I don't think they're fatty enough, in my opinion. But you could start there. Start with something that's animal based as a good start, And again, if it's 3 meals a day is what you're used to, that's okay. Start there, and don't worry about the fasting right now. But and I've got books. I got my baby's book. I've got my Kiltz Keto Carnivore book. I even have a keto for fertility book with Marie Emmerich out there that you can also get and try out. But this is the beauty of carnivore. Like I don't even need a recipe book. I just, whether it's an air fryer or a cast iron pan on the stove, or you're throwing it out on the barbecue, it really is so amazingly simple to do this. And no other animals like, what macros do I need, or like, you have a recipe book for that? I mean, no other animal asks that. But I grew up in the 50s, 60s, and trained on boxed cereals and plant-based, mostly chips and salsa and all sorts of processed things. I love Coca-Cola. My favorite meal in the universe was a Big Mac fries and a Coke. And
My dad too.
I would tell you that, if you have it once, like forever blue moon, it's not going to kill you. The problem is I was doing it like every day. And when they built a McDonald's right near school, I mean, it's like, hallelujah. And did I know why I had ADHD, OCD, couldn't read, I was kicked out of school? I look back at it now and realize, wait a minute, the food I was fed and then the food I was trained to buy and eat was the cause of all my problems. And so I rarely drink alcohol. It's not good for you, by the way. I'm not suggesting you ever touch it. I fly airplanes, I drive cars, I live with another human being. They're all dangerous. But you got to pick your dangers in life. And I think that there's so many people like yourself and many other people out there sharing sharing recipes. Jenny Middich is coming over. We're doing Friday. We're doing a cooking show. I got Courtney Luna. We're doing something. Miss Marie Emmerich and I have done some stuff, and we're really sharing these ideas around the globe, and got to make it fun. You got to laugh at Kiltz, and you got to laugh at yourself for such crazy stuff.
All right. How about we take a moment and talk about insulin? Because one of the things that, right, when we go carnivore, this is kind of this main thing. And I feel like it's a big topic of conversation right now because we've got Ozempic and the GLP-1s, and it's just everywhere. So will you talk about insulin?
Okay. So there's nothing wrong with your body. Nothing wrong with your insulin. You're poisoned by a plant protein low-fat diet. It damages the liver first, and then it damages every other organ system in your body, including the pancreas. Insulin is made in the islet cells of the pancreas. It's a digestive hormone or enzyme, whatever you want to call it. It's a molecule that's released into the bloodstream directly through the hepatic portal system to the liver. Insulin's job is to convert amino acids from proteins and simple sugars from glycans to fat in the liver. That's insulin's job. Insulin's job is not to regulate your blood sugar. It's to convert dietary sugars and amino acids into fat in the liver, because if you can't make fat, you die. And so we see a big surge in obesity around the world, do we not?
Right. Yeah.
Is that pathologic or biologic and physiologic? Is there something wrong with you for getting fat, or there's actually something right with you in getting fat?
Well, now you've stumped me because I feel like there's something wrong with us getting fat.
There's nothing wrong with us getting fat.
But I'm guessing you're going to say that.
Because if you're living in an environment where food is really difficult to get, would you rather be fat or skinny?
Fat.
You better believe it. So if you're eating a plant-based diet, when were plants generally ripe enough, sweet enough, and tasty enough for us to eat? The summer and fall, which is the hyperphagic time to get pregnant and fat. to migrate, gestate, hibernate, because where's the food coming for you in the wintertime? Who's delivering it to you? Nobody. Remember, everyone else is making our food and delivering our food. 50,000 years ago, nobody's delivering you food. You're fighting for it. I was driving on one of my roads in my neighborhood a little earlier today, and I was watching these two hawks. One hawk had a fish in its claws, and the other hawk was attempting to capture this other hawk and force it to drop it. Okay, so why would another hawk try to steal fish from another hawk? Well, because catching fish must be difficult, right? And so eventually the fish, he dropped it. The both hawks still fought down the road. The fish was flopping in the road, okay? And I was kind of hanging around waiting to see if he came back. I waited long enough and I just went on my way. But finding food is hard. So does your brain know that food is always going to be easily accessible and delivered to you 24/7, 365? Your brain knows nothing about modern world. It's still living in the ancient reptilian world. Fight, feast, and make love. That's it. Okay? That's what our world is today, right? We're fighting this world. But insulin is doing its job. In a stressful environment, your brain says something bad is happening and you're going to have to migrate, run, hide, and you're not going to have food. So cortisol and epinephrine and puts in the hyperphagic world, right? And then insulin's just secreted because you're eating what? Amino acids and sugars. Okay. And what aren't we eating? What is not in our diet?
Protein?
Fat. Nobody's protein deficient. It's another lie. Now, see, it's a beautiful lie because all right, we're gonna get away from carbohydrates and sugars. Now you focus on protein, a high protein diet, right? Who's deficient in amino acids and proteins that you know of?
I mean, I don't know.
Who has no muscles? Okay.
Vegans.
Well, but again, they're inflamed. They have muscles, but they're inflamed. Obese people that are carrying around an extra 100, 200, or 300 pounds, are they strong or weak?
I mean, you have to have some amount of strength to be able to do that.
Okay, if I gave you an extra 100 pounds to carry around all day, could you do it?
No.
No, you could not. But I'm 150 pounds, 5'6", all right? If you gave me 100 pounds to carry around all day, I could not do it. Are there people 250 pounds, 5'6" all day long, carrying around their weight and going to work and doing all their stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Are their muscles strong or weak?
I would have to say strong.
You better believe it. Do they have strong bones or weak bones?
I'd be curious about that one. I want to say strong by what you're talking about, but then I feel like I've seen things that show smaller, weaker bones on heavier individuals.
Well, but that's maybe partially a lie, but you're right. Osteopenia, osteoporosis is an inflammatory disorder that damages the osteoclasts and osteoblasts and cause inflammation and damage the laying down of the calcium along with the rest of the matrix of the bone marrow. And so our problem is inflammation and a low-fat diet, not a low-protein diet. But nobody cares about fat anyway, and we're all fat-phobic, and we're basically judgmental against obesity and fat. So who cares if we discriminate against fat people or fat anyway? So we've gone from carbohydrates now to focus on, you need more protein. You need some aminos. I'm sorry, you don't have a problem with that. You have a problem with inflammation.
Okay, I have to question you here. I am genuinely curious. So when I started teaching birth classes, we'll say I had my first baby over 17 years ago now. And I started learning about some of this. Are you familiar with Dr. Brewer's work? at all?
Not in detail.
Okay. So what he did was he had two groups of people. He thought diet was a major issue. His had to do with preeclampsia and gestational diabetes that he was studying. And he took these two groups and he said, this I'm going to give a very high protein. And his high protein was 80 grams or more of protein a day. They're going to have a couple of vegetables or whatever else. The focus was on protein. Like everything happens with the protein. Liver, if you like it, once a week, a couple of potatoes once a week, whatever. But the focus was on the higher protein. The other group, he said, you guys eat what you want, no big deal. When he came back at the end of those pregnancies, of the group that ate his high protein diet, and it wasn't specific to fat at all. In fact, he said a few pats of butter, salt to taste, that kind of thing. None of them tested positive for gestational diabetes or preeclampsia, where the other group did. And I know that that's not just the protein that we're talking about. However, we do see that when you add high protein, be it fat or not, we do have positive things that happen. So I'd love to hear more about that.
Nobody eats protein. They eat animals or you eat plants. Every cell of every plant, every cell of every animal contains amino acids, simple sugars, and fatty acids. So I think it's our language. Okay, it is true when you increase meat, right? There tends to be more fat in the meat. Okay, so really what you're saying when you say protein is you're saying meat.
Right.
Correct? Okay.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
See, again, we have to be because if you looked out in the word protein is a scientific word. Because really, do you know how many amino acids or fatty acids or sugars were in exactly what that person ate?
No.
Okay. So eat meat by Schlank 3 times a day made people healthier. So when you're using the word protein, what you're meaning is meat and animal meats and the liver. Which organ system of the body is the highest in fat besides the adipose tissue itself?
The liver.
Okay, why is the liver so full of fat?
Well, according to what you said, it's because insulin's doing its job, right?
Well, the liver is also doing its job because the job of the liver is primarily to make fat. So what does a type 1 diabetic look like? Fat or skinny?
Fat?
No, they're skinny.
Oh.
Okay,
hold on.
Well, again, a type 1 diabetic without insulin.
Okay.
Remember, there's there's no pharmacology. There's if you have no insulin in a world that eats a plant protein, low fat diet, you're dead.
Okay. Yes.
But if you eat a ketogenic diet or a paleogenic diet or a carnivore-genic diet, in general, you're eating adipose tissue or fat. And a ketogenic diet is a high-fat diet. A paleogenic diet is a high-fat diet. And in general, a carnivore diet is supposed to be a high-fat diet. But if you're eating filet of fish, filet of chicken, or filet of meat, is there a lot of fat in there?
No.
No. So what 2 organ systems must you have healthy? Pancreas, insulin, liver for de novo lipogenesis. So in everyone's obesity, the huge uptick in obesity, how many people do you know are eating a stick of butter a day?
None.
How many people are eating lard by the tubful?
None.
When you boil French fries in oil, is it soaking up all the oil or it's just boiling the food at a higher temperature?
Both?
No. If you put your potatoes and boil them in water and then you take them out and you let them just sit there for a couple of minutes, you cut them open, are they soaking full of water?
No.
Then why is somehow when you fry them in oil, we think they're soaking full of oil? They're not.
I mean, they're super greasy. I'll give them that.
No, that's just the outside for a short time. But in general, if you just let them sit there, they're not soaked in oil.
That's true.
They're boiled in oil and oils boil at a higher temperature. So you're simply boiling your products at a higher temperature. So there's a simplicity to this. Insulin resistance is liver damage. Does that make any sense? No is an answer. Yes, completely is an answer. But usually it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I
Well,
don't know.
okay, so when we eat food, insulin's released, and that tends to increase people's obesity. Would you agree?
Sure.
You can eat all you want. If you have no insulin, will you get fat or will you get skinny?
Skinny.
Okay. So you get skinny because fat is the only fuel for the body, not sugar, number one. Number two is if you have failed liver, cirrhosis of the liver, are you fat or skinny?
Skinny.
Because your liver cannot make fat. So
Interesting.
insulin resistance, what happens is, let's just say you have a functional liver, you have normal insulin secretion, you eat a meal full of sugar. Sugar goes up in the bloodstream, insulin goes up. In the liver, it's quickly converted to fat, lowers your glucose level. After time, because usually these things happen over long time intervals, as your liver gets damaged, your liver function drops, glucose levels rise because they can't be converted to fat fast enough. Insulin levels rise. And so now you're fasting glucose. It takes longer for the glucose levels to drop because it takes them longer to be converted to fat and very low density lipoproteins. Eventually, the liver fails and you can't convert sugars to fat anymore and you die. Because what's the standard diet around the globe?
Processed,
Fruit, fiber,
highly
vegetables,
processed food.
but it's fruit, fiber, vegetables, seeds, nuts, processed plants, lean meat. There's no fat in the standard diet, even when it comes to the new food pyramid, which I call the Bermuda Triangle. There's no fat. It says keep your fat to less than 10% of your calories. Now, if you're eating fatty meat, eggs, butter, cream, and cheese, you're getting more calories than 10%. And as a carnivore, bacon, eggs, butter, beef, and salt, am I getting more than 10% of my calories from fat? Of course I am. And that's how you want to eat. But now if you gave a liver failure patient or a type 1 diabetic adipose tissue, if you got the cow's fat and just said, here, eat this, you'll actually be healthy. Now, you did need some insulin to convert the small amounts of amino acids and sugars in fat cells. So I don't know how long you really get away with it, but it is quite remarkable. So a bear that hibernates for 6 months gestates up to 4 baby bears, pretty amazing, and loses no bone mass, no muscle mass. 6 months of hibernation and gestation. How come they don't lose bone mass or muscle mass? Because they
I
lose
don't have an answer.
they lose only adipose tissue. Because what's the function of fat on your body? One, it's the only source of acetyl-CoA, ketone bodies, and energy. Two, it contains amino acids, simple sugars, and fatty acids, and cholesterol, the building blocks of your body that is there for autophagy, repairing dead and dying cells, right? Apoptosis, the cellular death that's built into every cell of our body, right? And ultimately, we've given fat a bad rap. But if you're not fat in a famine, you're fertilizer fast. And why is a voluptuous woman more reproductively valuable than a skinny anorexic woman? Because fat is required for reproduction. It's a highly macromolecular in need, wrong word, abundantly needed substance to build your baby. And your body, you're not giving amino acids from your muscles, and you can't do that. You need your muscles and your bones and your body to move, but your fat butt, fat boobs, fat thighs, and fat belly, and your fat in your visceral fat and your subcutaneous fat and your perinephric fat and your intramuscular fat is the fuel for every cell of the body and the building block. There's a simple story to all of this. Science makes it complicated. Randall cycle and Krebs cycle and all this stuff. But if I observe a human being, I don't eat for a month. I didn't eat for 15 days. I lost about 10 pounds. Gained it back. Okay? Why? Because your body's not dumb. Like most people that lose weight gain it back, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's their set point they've created for so long. They've got to change their environment, their mindset. We're lions, not sheep. We're wolves and lions, not dogs and cats. You put the food out for dog and cat, they'll eat it all day long. A lion doesn't touch it. But once you've been domesticated, you've learned the sweet spot of plants and protein and low fat. Your brain says famine, hibernation, migration, gestation. I better eat away and get fat because pretty soon there's no food. And so you don't have the willpower to not eat food. You know that? Human beings do not have the willpower to not eat the sweet food that was available seasonally. We're omnivores. We're more like bears than we are lions or wolves. Because when the sweet berries are out, what do we want to do? Mm-hmm. We want to eat them, right? So it must be that our DNA says, eat the sweets, eat the honey, eat the ice cream, eat the milk. I mean, listen, we are producing and giving you milk, but no adult cow is going to let an adult cow drink milk from it. You know that, right?
Right.
And so, but if they were bottled, the cows are drinking the shit too. And why do we drink milk? Well, because someone provided us and say, here, this is good. And what gets a baby fat?
Milk.
Mother's milk.
Yeah.
And if a baby doesn't get fat, they're screwed if mommy dies or mommy's milk dries up, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm wondering if there's a simpler story that we made out in science. I call it scientism. We've made a marketing scheme out of science. It's as powerful as a spirit now. And we believe the spiritual story less and the scientific story more, when in fact the scientific authorities are just a marketing a company for the people who control the message. And you're a lioness and a lion, and you've been domesticated. It's as simple as that. Basically, why do we want to eat all these tasty morsels? Because we're not dumb. The odds of not having food next week is very high in our evolutionary history. If you think about it, wars, pestilence, disease, weather, common, right? And now our brain says, I'm stressed. I better eat and get fat. But then they deliver us more food. But really, the carnivore way of living is radical. Christ carnivore, to me, is like the master. And whether you believe Christ as the God or just another human being, a dude that had some philosophy that's positive, amazing, and building you up. And I always say, you better look in the mirror and believe in God, because there she, he, it is. We are the gods. Ain't nothing out there. Nothing's out there except what you put out there. You are the creator of the story. And that's why I love this lion's life And the more we realize the lion's lifestyle is like amazing.
Okay, so I have a feeling you're going to say no, but I'm going to ask it anyways.
Yes, go ahead.
Can you eat too much fat then?
I don't, well, I mean, you're a polar bear works hard to eat as much fat as it can to get fat when the seals and the ice are gone. Okay? And so you can overeat yourself to death. You can eat only fat for 6 months and become 400 pounds and not be able to get up and go anywhere, right? And so is it possible? Sure, it is. But in general, eating fat is so satiating to the human mind. It's like, because what it says is there's plenty of food out there. That's our natural hunting brain. You know what? There's plenty of fat right in front of me. There must be plenty of fat out there on the savannah to go out there and hunt and kill and eat. So for whatever reason, when you eat fatty meat, your appetite just drops. Your hyperphagia goes away. So yes, you could, like a polar bear, they must, but you're going to get fat and fat and fat until the food is gone.
So your body is going to tell you, as you are eating meat and you're including fat with this, fatty cuts of meat, your body's going to tell you when it's enough. And if you're adding things like sticks of butter, like you're talking about, you will hit a point where you're like, okay, I can tell I don't feel good, or I'm gaining a little too much around the midsection or whatever. Like your body's going to regulate that, is what you're saying.
In general, those people that go on the carnivore high-fat diet, they slim down or fatten up depending on where their body should be. Meaning that zero fat is deadly for humans. Do you know this?
Right. Yes, I did know that.
And 1 to 2% of fat on your body, is that natural or normal?
No.
That's deadly. Okay. You can't reproduce, right? And so we're all in this macro. It's just eat the fatty meat. Enjoy the day. You'll find suddenly your brain is like, you know what? I want to be creative. I want to go do something. I want to do something that's going to inspire someone to want me, right? Because it's all a mating game. That's all we are. This is the mating game of life, right? What do I look like? What do I feel like? How can I inspire a mate in order to help me reproduce? Because at the end of the day, that's all that matters, reproduction. And so, sure, you can overeat as a carnivore, like you could undereat as a vegan. But in general, your body, your mind sees clearly who and what you are. You're a lion and no longer a domesticated sheep that lines up for too much coffee and alcohol and the plants. And even I see plenty of carnivores that overeat their meat. For what reason? I don't know. But I would say if you look at Atkins' diet, right? Or if you look at James Henry Salisbury's work, Salisbury steak guy, doctor from Albany Med, 1850s, he put people on an animal-based diet and they got better. And I would say that physically, for whatever you think the proper weight is, and I don't know what it is, by the way, there is no proper BMI. It depends on what the future holds for us. You'll find that sweet spot on carnivore.
Can I take you towards gestational diabetes? Because I feel like I want to hear from you what your thoughts on it are. Is this a food thing? I definitely have my own thoughts. Is this it's a hereditary, or just whatever happens when you're pregnant and gestational diabetes can be part of your story? Is this something that can be cured with food? What does that look like?
Well, all right. So gestational diabetes is damage to the liver. The liver no longer is capable of converting the amount of sugars and amino acids you're eating to fat fast enough. And so as the glucose rises and amino acid levels rise, they cause glycation, which is damage to the sugar layer on every cell of your body, which causes hypertension, which causes intrauterine growth retardation, prematurity, fetal demise, fetal death, maternal morbidity, and maternal mortality. And so ultimately, plant protein, low fat diet and 3 to 6 meals a day, as the American College of OBGYN recommends, is the cause of most disease. So if you go to a carnivore ketogenic diet, increase the fat. When you eat the fat, it reduces inflammation. You reduce the glucose and amino acid load in your body because you're eating less frequently. You feel better. You reduce the incidence of type 2 diabetes, gestational diabetes. They're all kind of the same, basically. Gestational diabetes is a form of type 2 diabetes, essentially. Type 1 diabetes, you have no insulin. Type 2 diabetes, you have plenty of insulin, but somehow your glucose levels aren't going down fast enough. That's liver damage. And so ultimately, a plant protein, low fat diet and 3 to 6 meals a day is not a typical normal human diet 50, 100,000 years ago. But it is a domesticating diet. Because if you need a food pyramid or a food triangle or my plate to teach a human lion how to eat, that's where we're messed up. The government is fricking things up anyway, and they cannot help you as a wild human being, but they'll help you become a domesticated slave, soldier, peasant, and prisoner. So listen, I see this in my business every day because infertility is essentially is a pre-diabetic or a type 2 diabetic or a pre-gestational gestational diabetic problem, which is plants contain sugars that are allergenic, immunogenic. The sugars ferment in the gut that makes alcohol, aldehydes, heat, and gas, and methane. The sugars contain estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and goitrogenic substances, which I call tumorgenic substances. And they cause every disease we suffer from, which all come from plants, plus lectins, oxalates, phytates, and more. And so really, it really is a simple story, but we're making it complicated. Why some people get sick and your neighbor doesn't, that's the mystery. About 10% of smokers get lung cancer, but they all get something. It's so like, I'm not infertile, so I don't have a problem, and I'm eating a plant-based diet. You're going to get something. You just don't know it yet. And I just got a call from a friend, a 25-year-old niece has got aplastic anemia. I see this every single day, that countless people, one of my friends, his wife did 4 IVF cycles to have their children, right? And it's just, IVF is normal. It's not normal. And in my business, the American College of OBGYN, SART, ASRM, and all of them basically think my immune and nutritional practices are like rogue. But women die during COVID, and women of color still dying more commonly than white women in general. But they're all at risk, by the way. And the beauty of social media and what you're doing and others are doing is we're sharing a story that people go like, this guy sounds crazy. I don't believe him. Okay, don't. But if you're not getting what you want on your standard diet, why not change it? Listen, you could be a vegan technically and do keto. But technically, there's no fat in plants. There's industrial oils that must be extracted from a plant. But an animal, you know what fat looks like. And most people, even carnivores, cut it away. And I see skinny carnivores that are like over skinny. Like, I got some fat and I don't mind it. Well, maybe a little bit I do. But I go to the gym and I do my weights and walking and faith and practice of meditation and prayer. God is all there is. And look in the mirror and there it is. That's so simple. But so the number of women that are infertile on the rise, gestational diabetes on the rise. Everyone's getting a GLP-1 or they're getting a continuous insulin drip, right? Which is deadly for humans, right? If you just didn't eat so frequently, is it hard not to eat? Sure it is. But when you go carnivore, and again, my crazy babies diet, right? I got my crazy shit I shared every day. And, I am nuts and I don't mind it. But you have how many children?
I have 5.
5 children. What's the most important thing to you in your life?
My children.
Your children, right? And so, this is I don't know if you could see that. It might be a little hard. It's called the baby's diet. Maybe
Okay.
a little difficult to see, but
It's a little
bacon,
shiny.
eggs, butter, beef, and it's just go to drkiltz.com, look at our books, look at our ideas. I write books. I use AI to help me write my books. Jeez, a ghostwriter AI. I put in all my stuff. They gather all my stuff. I make my corrections. Boom, my stuff is out there. And I think that is really radical what we're learning today and what you're learning. But our children are the most important thing in the universe. And again, my grandson, Julio with the G. Oh my God, just like amazing. I have one child, Pilar. Just delivered Julio. Is he'll be a year, February 17th. But again, our job is to help men and women be healthy, boys and girls be healthy, young and old be healthy. And the carnivore lifestyle is counter to the standard system. And immunology is really, we're destroying our immune system, and cancers are on the rise, depression, anxiety, suicidality, all the shit, craziness on a plant-based protein, low-fat diet. Again, no animal eats proteins. You either eat plants or animals. That's it. And again, we're eating processed food. I don't care what you're eating, it's processed. And most of it is lean meat. And lean meat is not what you want. You want to eat fatty meat because that's how you keep the microbes at bay.
Well, and I'm glad you're talking about this too, because you're talking about children. And I think what we're seeing now is a couple generations worth of doing it wrong. And so now we're seeing that now we're being taken out in the sense that, oh, we can't reproduce. So that's the world saying something's really wrong. Like, you are not worthy to do this anymore. Your body is not, capable of doing this because of what we've done. And so we're giving birth to these babies that must not be as healthy because of what we're doing. And the cycle continues. So I think it's really important. I love that this conversation is happening right now and that we're seeing such a big movement this way, because everything that we're doing for our bodies, even being able to get pregnant, but the process of taking care of our bodies prior to getting pregnant and during pregnancy is making for healthier babies, which is going to give them, longer lives, healthier lives, and all of that too. So I think it's really, really important.
Well, if you think about it, we're not born to be doctors, lawyers, mechanics. We're born to be moms and dads.
Yeah.
And we've lost our way. The birth control pill is a deadly pill. The IUD is harmful. Even condoms and diaphragms, I think in general, are giving us the wrong idea and impression that sex is for entertainment, and forgetting the fact that bonding in sex is critical, and caring for our families and our partners is critical. But because we're all brain damaged due to the diet and the lifestyle we're living because of the diet, we can't think like our natural selves to care for our families, our brothers and sisters. And again, if you're healthy but not reproducing naturally, you're not healthy. There's something wrong with you. And again, it's happening younger and younger and younger. And our job is to work on ways that we can help each other be healthier in this carnivore lifestyle. I don't care. You can eat some plants. You can be primarily a plant eater, but cook them well, add animal fat, eat less frequently, have faith in God and look in the mirror. There he it is. And help other people in life. Do something hard, something that maybe you're afraid to do. It's kind of, you're anxious about it. You're worried about failure. I mean, we're born to challenge failure. We're born to fail at failure, actually. That means you succeed. I'm the biggest failure in the universe. I fail at failure. Keep succeeding. And ultimately, if you're not caring for your children, care for your community's children every single day.
All right. Before we jump off, can I ask you to hit up some mindset? Because I know that, you just you gave us that good speech even just right there. But will you talk about how mindset plays a role in your life and how you see it play a role in everyone's, truly?
As a kid, I had a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear, and dyslexia, depression, ADHD, OCD, couldn't sit still. And I managed to become a doctor. It still carried with me in many ways. I'm a mechanic, a surgeon. Eventually, I suffered. I went through even more depression, suicidal thoughts and ideation. I went through a divorce with my high school sweetheart after 25 plus years or longer, a daughter, my only child. And I didn't know how to handle it. And I found mindfulness, meditation, prayer, Jesus Christ. I dug deep into understanding the religions of the world and realignment of the mind. I read voraciously. I listen to books. I write books voraciously and sharing stories about how every thought you think creates the life you live. And so I began to get up at 4 or 5 in the morning. I'd write a daily meditation, a daily prayer, gratitude game, and goals and game plan where write a gratitude poem, and then I'd write some goals of the day, and then my game plan of how I approach and succeed at these things. And I did that for a number of years. And 20 years ago, I was doing a podcast online. I think 2 people saw it, my mother and father. But it taught me much. I used to do seminars and retreats on mindfulness and meditation. The Secret by Rhonda Byrne inspired me, but books like The Alchemist, Incongruence, The Power of Positive Thinking, Mind is the Master, and Three Magic Words, and Biology of Belief. A number of books that I've read, listened to, voraciously gone through. It taught me that the world isn't what I see, it's what I think I see. And so if I could stand still in the moment of hardship, challenges, and fear and imagine, God, what do you got for me right here? I know there's a gift right in front of me, but I'm going to stand still. I'm going to just take a breath and imagine, wow, what good do you have for me here in this hardship, this challenge, this pain, this sorrow? I'm a painter, a potter. I used to do jewelry, but I love to build things. And I imagine that we're all capable of everything. And I see the beautiful human being in you with whatever you're going through. Love and forgiveness, kindness, generosity. Judge not lest you be judged. And I read the poetry of the New Testament, the Old Testament, the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, the Torah, the Tao Te Ching, and just poetry. And, I can't read or I can't do that. I'm not that smart. Well, those are only true because I taught myself to continue to say it. But now it's like, I'm a poet, a potter, a painter. I'm a master at life. Breath and smile. And I've written some books, Daily Intentions, Daily Inspirations, and I've got a new book called Christ Carnivore coming. And I'm inspired by the books that others have inspired me to add to that and write more and add to the story. And ultimately, whether it's Christianity or Islam or Judaism or Hinduism or it's just you believe in the power of the sun gods or the power of spirituality. Everything is just a story. Tell yourself the most amazing, beautiful story and positive story wherever you're at. Even if you're sitting in a jail cell, imagine that God put you here from some mission of goodness. And I love you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for being here today. Will you please let everybody know where they can find you so they can connect with you and your work and your books and all that? And I'll make sure that all this stuff goes in the show notes as well and gets sent out an email this week.
drkiltz.com, and usually spelled out DOCTORKILTZ.com or kiltzhealth.com or however you spell it. And we're out there on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. But I'm not perfect at being out there. I sometimes take a break and I love it all, but I find myself doing other things. Like I'm on my bike riding, listening to a book, or I'm taking a walk, or I'm going to the gym and hanging out and talking to people, or going to the office and talking to people. and get inspired by listening and learning from others. I mean, that's why I'm here every day. And the more I do this, the better. And we're alive to fail and fall forward, and then push yourself up. And usually someone's going to grasp you and lift you up. You're going to dust yourself off and keep moving. And we're all out there to meet each other. So come to a meetup, a Kiltz Mighty Tribe meetup, or come online with us live every day at 6 a.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday. That's our main days. And Dr. Nelson has really helped, and Ali has really helped, and we're adventuring it and sharing with others like yourself. So thank you for having me on today, and God bless everyone.
Thank you.